I, 42-year-old female, got invited to my mother-in-law's, the mother of my boyfriend David, who is 44 years old, birthday celebration. It came as a surprise since I'm under the impression that they, my mother-in-law and sisters-in-law, kind of don't like me. I can't say I was super excited to go, but I was glad to be included. Important note, both my boyfriend and I come from working-class backgrounds. The difference is that my parents gave me a good life once they had financial progress, while his father refused to offer nice things because he said my mother-in-law was using their children for gold-digging purposes. He left my mother-in-law and remarried. They are 4 siblings. I have a good career and make a decent salary. He earns 5 times less than I do, but that has never been an issue until my mother-in-law's birthday. First, I felt isolated during dinner and out of place. They talked a lot about family stories and private jokes, as well as manga, wrestling, and bands that I don't know about. I felt ignored since every time I tried to participate in the conversation, they hardly made eye contact. Another important thing, I was talked over twice. The first time they simply talked among themselves and my input was lost. I didn't make too much of it. The second time, I had to start my sentence about 3 times because of all the interruptions and was left to basically talk to myself as they continued their conversation by talking over me. Only Dave took notice and tried to make light of it. Then he went to take a picture with his siblings and stayed seated 3 chairs away. I wasn't alone on my side of the table, but at this point, I considered pulling out my phone to scroll on it because it was like I wasn't a part of the celebration, and I felt a mix of boredom and anxiety. There were about 16 people, including grandchildren, ranging in age from about 8 to 22, and their spouses. They ordered several samplers, dessert, and drinks, especially the more expensive margaritas. I had 2 soft drinks, 1 margarita, and my ribs and soup. When the check came, my mother-in-law immediately said we needed to split the bill, which meant that 8 adults, excluding my mother-in-law since it was her birthday, would have to shoulder the amount. My tab was way under $100, but I was expected to cough up about $160 to $170. I didn't find it fair and told Dave I preferred to either 1, pay for my own, or 2, only split the cost for mine, his, and his daughter's 22-year-old female meal. His response was less than agreeable, and he basically called me cheap. I insisted, and his face had an angry expression, and he low-key yelled in a hushed voice, telling me not to cause a scene. At this point, I felt bullied and told him I excused myself and told the waitress, and left a good tip on my own. She kindly helped me out, and I settled my check. I sat back down, and when he found out, his face turned red, and everyone became silent. On our way to our car, he said this should be the last time that I embarrass him in front of his family. He's also accusing me of taking a family celebration and using it to showcase my financial position, knowing that his family isn't rich and it would have been nice to split the cost. Every time he mentions this, he always makes remarks about how they are tight on cash and they made sacrifices to be there. I haven't replied to any of his messages since. He apologized, but I'm no longer confident that he would not do this again. The last time we talked, I said I will not be going to any of his family functions ever again. My friends are divided over this. Most of them support me, but some say I'll be ruining my relationship over money. I don't see it that way. Why would I help them save money by burning my wallet? I'm kind of lost here because it sounds like I'm expected to pay the most only because I'm financially independent. He's never treated me this badly until now, so I don't know if I truly put him on the spot. Am I the jerk? AITA? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot, but I'll make it easy for you. He will never put you over his family. In fact, I'd ask you to think if he ever has. If he wanted to act like a respectful partner, he would have asked for your help before the dinner. But no, he tried to slip one past you and just hoped you wouldn't make a scene in front of the most important people in his life. That's nonsense. He's embarrassed because he realized he can't manipulate you. You can do better than him. Comment 2. His family treats you like you don't exist until it's time to pay the bill. He says you embarrass him in front of his family all the time. This will be the last time you embarrass me. It sounds like he does not support you, stick up for you, or try to make you comfortable around his jerk relatives. It's up to you if you want to continue to be treated that way for the rest of your relationship. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a wild week, and I've got quite the update for you all. After the birthday dinner disaster, things between Dave and me went from bad to worse. I thought the silent treatment would be temporary, but it stretched on. Then, out of the blue, I got a text from his sister, the one who's always been a bit warmer to me. She wanted to meet up for coffee, and I figured, why not? Maybe she could shed some light on the situation. We met at a local cafe, and she dropped a bombshell. Turns out, Dave had been venting to his family about our financial differences for months. He felt emasculated by my higher income and was apparently jealous of my career success. His sister revealed that he'd been pushing the narrative that I was the one using money to create a divide in the family. I was floored. All this time, I thought we were on the same page about finances, but behind my back, he was painting me as the villain. The betrayal stung, but what she said next was even more shocking. Dave's ex, the mother of his daughter, had been in the picture more than I knew. They'd been talking a lot, and she was feeding into his insecurities, suggesting that I didn't respect him or his family's financial struggles. It was like a soap opera twist I never saw coming. I confronted Dave when he got home that night. The air was thick with tension as I laid out everything his sister had told me. He tried to deny it at first, but the evidence was too damning. He finally admitted that he'd been talking to his ex and that his pride was hurt by my success. He said he felt like he couldn't provide for me the way he wanted to. The argument escalated, and in the heat of the moment, he let slip that he'd been considering getting back together with his ex. She had been a stay-at-home mom when they were together, and he missed feeling needed financially. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After all our time together, he was willing to throw it all away because of his ego? I was ready to walk out right then and there, but then his daughter walked in. She'd overheard everything and was in tears. She couldn't believe her dad would do something like this. She'd always seen me as a role model, someone who had worked hard to get where I was. She told her dad that he was being ridiculous and that if he couldn't be proud of me, he didn't deserve me. The next few days were a blur. Dave tried to apologize, but the damage was done. His daughter moved in with me temporarily, saying she needed some space from her dad. She's been a rock for me, and I've been there for her too. It's a strange situation, but we're making it work. As for Dave, he's been trying to make amends, but I can't shake the feeling of betrayal. I've been reflecting on our entire relationship, and I'm starting to see all the little signs I missed. He always had a way of subtly undermining my achievements or changing the subject when I talked about work. I haven't made any decisions about our future yet, but for now, I'm focusing on myself and supporting his daughter. She's been thinking about going back to school, and I've been encouraging her to pursue her dreams, no matter what her dad thinks. My friends ignore my no kids rule and let their tots wreck my home, so I enforce boundaries, and now they're splitting up and blaming me for their broken friendships. I, 35-year-old female, am the only one in our friend group without kids. There is no sad story there. We just don't want kids for multiple reasons. As a result of not having kids, our home isn't exactly kid-proof. I don't mean that in a way that it's not safe for kids, although that might still be the case, but in a way that we saved up to buy furniture that we really love, and we would like to keep our furniture looking nice. Furniture is expensive. When we invite friends, they tend to always bring their kids, and it has happened multiple times that their kids were jumping on our sofa, sitting on our design table, and creating stains on the walls and floor, etc. Whenever I look at our friends, they just laugh it off and say, "Welcome to life with kids," and emphasize that since it is my home, I should give their kids boundaries. Well, that's easy to say, but as I don't have kids, I don't know how to address kids. And I also don't think it's my job to teach their kids basic boundaries. You can't just start yelling at kids and dragging them outside, and that's the only instinct I have at those moments. 2 weeks ago, we invited all our friends over for dinner, and I told them it was adult only, since I put in a lot of effort to make a really lovely 4-course dinner for 12 people. Somehow, all of our friends independently, I think, decided to bring their kids anyway, as they thought it would be funny since they know that we don't really care for kids. So we had 9 kids running around the house, messing up all our stuff, while I had spent 2 days preparing a nice dinner. Next to it being annoying that their kids mess up your stuff, it also creates a completely different atmosphere when people bring kids to a dinner party, as all focus is on the kids, the focus being on how cute they are, of course. Not that they mess up my home, of course. I decided to let it go, but did tell my friends multiple times that they were scients for bringing their kids after I asked them not to, and they laughed it off. The day after the dinner, I saw that we had scratches on our new glass table and giant stains on our wooden floor, and a lot of glassware was broken. Why don't you have plastic cups for kids? Luckily, I could fix the stains with a lot of work, and I tried to accept the scratches on the table. Now this week, one of our friends wanted to come by to lend some tools. I told them that they could come over, but jokingly said that I've seen enough kids for a while after the dinner party, and that they were welcome to lend the items if they'd leave their kids at home. When I opened the door for them, their kids came rushing in, and our friends started laughing. They thought it was extremely funny that I was so annoyed by the fact that their cute kids came rushing in. I was kind of fed up, so I told them that they should go home and find somewhere else to lend their tools. They were shocked by my response and told me that I was a snent, as it would only take 5 minutes to get the items they wanted to lend, and that their kids couldn't do any damage in the meantime. I agree that my response is very petty, but I don't think that I'm a jerk. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot, but I think you need to be more direct in your communication. I'm confused about why they constantly think you are joking. I think you need to have a very open and serious conversation with them that you were hurt. They explicitly crossed your boundaries by bringing their kids to the adult dinner party you prepared. You understand childcare can be tough, but wish they had declined the invite if they couldn't find childcare, because it had XYZ effect on your home and time. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Your friends were disrespectful for blatantly defying your rule of no kids. It's not a funny joke. And to say that it's on you to police their children when they're in your home, uninvited to boot, is just ridiculous. They're jerks twice over. Takes 2 seconds to lend a tool, takes 0 seconds to leave your kids in the car. Your house, your rules. Now for the update. Hey everyone, back with an update on the whole friends with kids situation. It's been a wild 3 days, and I've got to say, things have taken some unexpected turns. So, after the last incident with the tools and the kids rushing in, I was pretty upset. I mean, I love our friends, but it felt like they were completely disrespecting our wishes and our home. My partner and I had a long talk about it, and we decided that we needed to have a serious conversation with our friends about boundaries. We've known these friends since college, and we've been through a lot together. Breakups, job losses, you name it. We've always supported each other, but this was different. It was about respect, and it felt like we weren't getting any. We called a meeting at our place, no kids allowed this time, and everyone actually showed up without their little ones. It was tense at first, but we laid it all out. We explained how much we valued our friendship, but also how important it was for our home to be respected. Now here's where things got steamy. Turns out one of the couples, let's call them Sarah and Mike, had been having some issues at home. They'd been using these gatherings as an escape, and their kids' behavior was a reflection of the chaos in their own household. They apologized profusely, and it was a real jaw-dropping moment for all of us. We had no idea they were struggling so much. But that wasn't the only surprise. Another couple, Jenna and Tom, got into a huge fight right there in our living room. Jenna accused Tom of flirting with another friend in our group, and things escalated quickly. They were shouting, and Jenna ended up storming out. It was shocking to see, especially since they always seemed so solid. The heartbreak came the next day. Sarah called me, crying. She and Mike had decided to separate. The stress of their home life and the realization that they were using our gatherings as an escape had been too much. They needed to focus on their family and figure things out. I felt terrible. Despite the issues with the kids, I never wanted our friendship to cause pain. As for Jenna and Tom, they're trying to work things out, but it's clear there's a lot of tension there. It's like our group is unraveling at the seams, and I can't help but feel partially responsible for setting off the chain of events. In the midst of all this, our friends did apologize for not respecting our home and agreed to be more mindful in the future. But the atmosphere has changed. It's like the confrontation brought out all these underlying issues that had been simmering for a while. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get more intense, our friend Liz confronted me. She said that I had been insensitive to the challenges of parenting and that I didn't understand because I didn't have kids. It was a tough conversation, and it ended with her saying she needed some space from the group. So here we are, 3 days later, and it feels like everything's different. Our group is fractured, and there's this sense of loss hanging over us. We've all been friends for so long, and now it feels like we're strangers dealing with our own issues. I've spent the last day just trying to process everything. My partner and I are doing okay, but it's hard not to feel like we're in the middle of a storm we helped create. We just wanted to protect our home, and now it feels like we might have lost some friends along the way. Mother-in-law offers to fund wedding if I ditch my deceased mom's kilt, but I stand firm and fiancé sees my side, so we weave tartan into our day and earn Mill's respect with a heartfelt talk. Edit. Hey guys, there's an update to this. Talked with G last night. I, 25-year-old male, will be marrying my fiancée G, 25-year-old female, later on this year. I proposed to her a little bit before Christmas and we're aiming for a November wedding. G has 2 older brothers, only one of whom has gotten married. And for one reason or another, my mother-in-law, 68-year-old female, was not involved in the planning of the wedding at all. She was pretty hurt over this, as she's always wanted to help plan her children's weddings. So when we got engaged, she offered to pay for most of the wedding. And in return, we agreed to let her help with the planning. In my mind, as long as I'm marrying G, I'm happy. So I was okay with this. The only thing I'm really sticking to and refuse to change is what I'm wearing. And my mother died when I was very young, and she was the daughter of first-generation Scottish immigrants. My grandparents moved from the north of Scotland in the 1960s, and my mother was brought up learning about her parents' culture. Since she died, I've had a hard time connecting to that side of my family, and after my grandfather died a few years ago, I decided that I wanted to wear her family's kilt when I get married. And I talked about this with my fiancé before we got engaged, because it is an unorthodox idea, but she thought it was sweet and liked the idea. A few days ago, my mother-in-law came up to me and told me I'd have to wear a traditional tuxedo instead of a kilt. When I asked her why, she said it went against the view she had of G's wedding, and that the colors of my mother's tartan clashed with the colors she had chosen for the wedding. When I told her that this was pretty much the only thing I'm unwilling to budge on, she brought up how she's paying for most of the wedding, and wearing a tuxedo is the least I could do. When I brought this up to G, she echoed the sentiment her mother had made about paying for the wedding. I'm able to pay for it myself, and I told G that I thought she understood how important this connection to my mother was to me, especially because she can't be there. And if she wasn't able to accept that, then I'd pay for the wedding myself. G told me I was being a bit stubborn for being so insistent on what I want to wear, and once my mother-in-law heard that I would just pay for the wedding myself, she got really upset because it's always been her dream to plan G's wedding. I'm feeling a bit guilty right now and was wondering if I should just wear a standard tuxedo. My family's kilt is really important to me, but this is causing more conflict than I thought it would. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot S. Stick to this. Explain to your fiancé exactly why it's so important to you that you wear a kilt when you get married. Explain it to your mother-in-law too. If you really can afford it, pay for it yourself. It's also really important that G comes around to your side on this. Her not understanding why you want this and why it's important is not a good way to start a marriage. Your mother-in-law not coming around is one thing, but your wife is another. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Your real problem here is your girlfriend. The second she called you a weenie, you should have canceled the wedding. There is no way in hell anybody is ever going to talk to me like that and be allowed to stick around. Dump her ASAP. P.S. In today's world, grooms are simply props for the bridezilla's big day. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. I've got an update for you after talking with G last night. So, after the whole tuxedo versus kilt debacle, things got pretty heated. G and I had a long talk about the importance of family traditions and respecting each other's wishes. She admitted that she hadn't fully grasped how much wearing the kilt meant to me. It was a moment of realization for her, seeing me so passionate about honoring my mother and connecting with my Scottish heritage. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law was still pretty upset. She had been dreaming of this perfect wedding for G since she was a little girl. She had scrapbooks filled with ideas, from the flower arrangements to the perfect shade of tablecloths. It was her way of showing love, and she felt like her contributions were being rejected. But then, something unexpected happened. G's older brother, the one who's married, sat down with us. He shared how he regretted not involving their mom more in his wedding planning. He told us about the little things he noticed that hurt her, like choosing a cake flavor without her input or not asking for her opinion on the venue. It was a heartfelt confession that made us all see things differently. G and I decided to compromise. We would incorporate the tartan patterns subtly throughout the wedding. My tie, the table runners, and even the boutonnieres would have a hint of the tartan. This way, the colors wouldn't clash, and I could still honor my family. The planning continued, and my mother-in-law was thrilled with the new arrangements. She even found a way to weave the tartan into her own outfit, which was a touching gesture. It was like a bridge between our families, symbolizing unity and respect. As for the wedding itself, it was more beautiful than I could have imagined. G looked stunning, and the subtle tartan touches were a hit. Guests were asking about the story behind it, and it felt good to share a piece of my history. But the real jaw-dropping moment came during the reception. G surprised me with a Scottish band, complete with bagpipes playing a melody that my grandfather used to hum. I was floored. There wasn't a dry eye in the room, including my tough-as-nails uncle who had flown in from Scotland. The confrontation with my mother-in-law turned into a heartfelt conversation one evening. She apologized for being so rigid and explained that she just wanted everything to be perfect for G. I told her I understood and that I appreciated all her efforts. We hugged it out, and from that point on, there was a newfound respect between us. In the end, the wedding was a blend of both our family's traditions and values. It wasn't just about G and me. It was about bringing together the people we love in a celebration that honored where we came from. And as for G and me, we're stronger than ever, and we learned to communicate better and to stand up for what's important to us, while still being open to compromise. It's a lesson we'll carry into our marriage, knowing that together we can face any challenge that comes our way. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.